It's car con carne. Let's eat in the car. It's car con carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
And it's Car Con Carne, still in quarantine on a Friday night. Quarantine Con Carne, sponsored tonight by C&H Financial Services. As business owners keep opening back up to serve their communities, they're faced with a lot of challenges as they navigate through this new normal brought on by the coronavirus. C&H Financial Services is here to help. They offer a variety of products that range from traditional merchant accounts to a zero-cost payment processing solution, which eliminates the expense associated with accepting Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and American Express as a form of customer payment. To learn more, and you should, contact C&H Financial Services at 855-600-2437 or go to chfs.us. With me tonight, he is the Sailor Jerry Rum Rude Boy. He is Gravy Thomas. The Rum Rude Boy is really just a much less LinkedIn-friendly way of saying brand ambassador.
Or I don't know shit about rum, but I'm going to come punk rock at it as best I can.
Well, let's start there. I mean, because Rude Boy is, I think of ska.
Yes.
I think of the Selector. I think of Bad
Yes.
Manners. I think of the Specials.
Yes.
Is that your world?
That's my world, baby. Right. But from an American standpoint, respect to all those who brought it over. You know what I mean? I come at it from hosting parties. Right. My pop was a toaster. Sound of Philadelphia, Motown style. I went into it through poetry and hip hop, hosting parties, right? Just, the toaster.
Yeah.
And then when I heard them, it took me to a whole nother level. I was like, oh my God. So as we were coming up with something, I can't stand ambassador, right? Can't stand it. You can't stand the word ambassador. It's whatever.
Well, it doesn't make sense for the brand you work for either. And it's a stuffy title. And this is a counterculture brand.
Exactly. So Rum Rude Boy was a quick, hey, I'm a historian of rum. I know a lot about it. I love it. But I'm not a particular experienced bartender. So a lot of spirit brand ambassadors come from bartending, right? A lot of them. Pre-COVID, because I'm going to tell you now, post-COVID, the ambassadorship world is going to be all changed up, right? Because of the lack of being able to, I came at it from a lifestyle standpoint, being the toaster. So we just added Rum Rude Boy to it. And I never host a master class. We just talk and have fun. So that's the way we go about it. Especially, thank you, recognizing the counterculture of the brand Sailor Jerry that I rep for sure.
Well, that's the hook. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, one being, of course, you're delightful and charismatic and a raconteur, but also it's National Tattoo Day. National Tattoo Day. Sailor Jerry, the titular Sailor Jerry of Sailor Jerry Spiced Rum, he was the guy when it comes to old school tattooing.
Yeah, considered one of the pioneers, the godfather of the old school tattoo, the traditional tattoo, and it's always a pleasure when I'm speaking to Chi-Town, right? Always, because there's a super duper link. I don't know if you knew. That's where Sailor Jerry came and told his age that he was old enough in Chicago, old enough on the Great Lakes to join the Navy when he wasn't, but still joined the Navy, and that's where he departed. That's where he departed on his travels from being born in Reno, early 1900s, traveling the train cars way of his love for old school Walt Disney style of, art, and combining that with the old school Americana pinup style of art that he was seeing, and visually got to Chicago. Tats Thomas met him. They start tattooing, gnarly on stiffs, They started tattooing in the back alleys, and he learned his craft, and then was like, hey, what's another way for me to go travel? Because back then, right, it was train car, right? So he's like, oh, the Navy. Joins the Navy from Chicago. So we've always had love for Chicago. And then when you fast forward, post his death, Mike Malone opened up Taylor Street Tattoo with Keith Underwood. Peace out to Taylor Street. Peace out to Great Lakes Tattoo. And peace out to the family tattoo in Chicago. So Chicago, like New York Bowery, like where I'm at in Philly, peace to Philadelphia Eddie. It's Tattoo Day, bro. So whoever came up with this Tattoo Day, because I'm going to break it down, this Tattoo Day. Awesome. Thank you very much. I get to rock out. But I want to make sure people understand that December 8th, 1891, when the gentleman by the name of Samuel O'Reilly, New York tattoo artist in the Bowery, patented the electric tattoo machine. Previous Thomas Edison had the patent to the tattoo electric pen. But in 1891, on December 8th, Samuel O'Reilly patented the machine, the tattoo machine. So, and if you really dig deep, there's a lot of traditionalists and OGs who are like, that's the real day. But hey, whoever, give me 2 days, I'm down.
You are like the Robert Langdon of tattoo information from the Da Vinci Code. You're like a curator of all this stuff.
Shout out to the Field Museum. They did an amazing tattoo exhibit.
Oh, that's right. Did
you go to that? Come on,
I
bro.
did. That was a few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, had a blast. We helped, and I got to hang. I've hung at South by Southwest and other places. Norman Collins, his original artwork. I've hung his original. This is the gentleman right here.
Look at that.
Right. So he passed away in 1973, but likes of Ed Hardy, right? Ed Hardy kept his legacy going. His shop, the Old Ironsides, which was in Honolulu, Chinatown, Hawaii, right? Back then, post, World War II era, let's just say. It was a lot of gnarly going on, you know?
For sure.
Right? Hotel Street. So that's where his shop was during World War II era, Honolulu. And that's where he started really honing his legacy of the thick, bold, traditional style tattooing. Again, combining Americana with what he had learned from Navy travels, South Seas, the Asian style of calligraphy, right? And then you see the beautiful, you know the art, right? You've seen the art, right? You know
that artwork. It will never not look cool.
Yeah, right. Bold and smooth. You can see it from across the street. There's a good friend of mine, Hanky Panky in Amsterdam. Hanky Panky is a legend. He's one of the last OGs. Please make sure you know about him. He has a Instagram at Tattoo Museum. But him and his partners run a shop in there's the Hanky Panky shop. Don't go to that one. That's like going to tourist spot in South Street in Philly. No, you got to go inside the city to get to Heck Schiffmacher's shop, right? Schiffmacher and Van Holden. But anyway, this is his artwork right here. He did for me his homage to Sailor Jerry through his looking glass. And he has the Rum Runners because he hung out with Ed Hardy.
Yeah.
He hung out with all those guys in Vegas back when they said, we're going to keep Sailor Jerry's artwork alive. The old school, what you're saying, because he always says something to me. He goes, when you see someone across the street and you see the old school traditional, you see it, right?
Yes.
You see it. Don't get me wrong. There's all the other styles that are big right now. We can talk about it. Fine line, thin line, big in Paris and France and overseas. But the traditional bold, it's going to be around forever. And it pops.
You look at the Sailor Jerry website, you look at the imagery. It is striking. It's timeless.
Yeah, and it's for me, it's errorless, right? It's going to be able to go in every era. And the reason why I say that is because, as you know, pop culture and colorways, things are getting more brighter and poppier, right? It's no longer the black t-shirt tattoo artist, although I'm rocking a black t-shirt right now. But you see what I'm saying? I got the blonde hair, but the fusion of colors and the brightness. He was the first one to bring purple into the tattooing game. Right. He was the first one to start working with purple, from shading on the lion, on the tiger tongue, or shading in the different birds' parts. He was the first one to bring that. So imagine, and that wasn't too far from prison tattooing. And for someone to bring purple into the game, it was like mind blowing. And then he was one of the first to help sterilize tattooing. Thank God. Or I'd be walking around like Thriller. You know what I mean?
Well, let's talk about your tattoos.
Oh man, let's go.
I've seen you bare chested. Let's see.
You've been to a Sailor Jerry party?
I'm trying to remember all I saw. There was a Richard Pryor. Yeah,
man. Richard is my name. Billy, Thin Lizzy.
Thin Lizzy.
Oh yeah, big fan. My pop grew me up on Thin Lizzy.
I was going to say, I feel like you're too young to have hooked into them.
Thank you. No. Pop grew me into all that. Meanwhile, with the Sound of Philly and Sly and Shuggy and Love, Arthur Lee, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or Bill Wither, obviously. We go in. And then world music. I'm a big Fela fan, Afrobeat to the death. That's the Nigerian punk rock to me. But Thin. I got X-Ray Specs. Yeah.
Nice.
Right. It's mostly
X-Ray Specs.
Yeah, it's mostly
the person who has an X-Ray Specs tattoo.
Bondage up yours.
Yeah,
bro. Yeah. It's the Far Side. it's my homage to the people of color that rocked me out. Obviously I got to get. Obviously, I grew. My first thing was poetry. Amir Barakar, the last poets, Gil Scott, but then HR, and I was like, okay, whoa, Okay, whoa, and then Philly, Sun Ra, you know. But I got Biggie. Obviously, you know, I stay a lot of time in Brooklyn. Trying to think. I think a Sam and Dave one might be. He's coming soon because they were just gnarly to me. Yeah,
They're still any time of day you can listen to Sam and Dave.
yeah, right.
Just it fits every mood.
Well, my band, I had a Afro, you know, Afro beat punk poetry band, and we would line up two pieces. It was two poets, a bass, no guitar on purpose.
This was Fillmore Brown.
Yeah. Fillmore Brown. Thank you. Damn. Oh man, yeah, because we were before the Instagram age, and we didn't want to do the MySpace. It was about if you saw us, you saw us. It was a movement. It was like pure hell in the '70s in Philly. You know what I mean? If you saw them, you saw them. Or in New York when they moved that. But yeah, you know, but pick up to the roots. They helped us sneak into some studios, you know, because you know they were doing their thing, but we were totally. But yeah, on purpose, no guitar, 4-piece and a drummer. And we did the Afrobeat punk thing because I grew up in the church, but couldn't sing like Usher. And then I saw Fishbone and Angelo, and I was like, oh my God, that's church. And then I saw HR, and I was like, oh, I'm a poet. I see what he's doing, you know, and I'm a big fan of like Off and their pronunciation of every word, you know, King Kong Brigade, you know, I love that. So I that's where I went with it rather than like hip hop. I was in the ciphers, but I was the run-on sentence king, you know what I mean? Because I was poetry. They were like, dude, get out. You know, so big up to Saul Williams, did a lot of shows with him. Hence that like vibe. Yeah.
Just by mentioning Fishbone, it's been so long since I've listened to them. When we're done tonight, they're going on.
Oh, awesome, bro. And then obviously, you know, the news, you got the new hard, you know, mathcore, post-hardcore that's come back with it. You see a lot of people, you know, Brothers of Color, Terror, Jesus Peace, you know, I actually, homie from, it's amazing, from Orange 9mm just hit me up yesterday, you know what I mean? Burn, right? So, yeah, man, that's my lineage for sure.
Let's see. I have a comment on Facebook Live. I met him, being you, Gravy, when I won a trip from Sailor Jerry. Lucero played at a secret bowling party.
Yo, I had a onesie on. We threw him in lane 15 to 19. We put Lucero up. Ben, big up to Ben, the bass player.
This is Shelly Ann. She says, we got picked up from the resort in a Firebird from the 80s. How badass is that? That's a contest. That's worth winning right there.
Oh, the good old days, man. That's when legal wasn't on us. I'm going to make a drink while we're, you know.
I think you should. What are you going to make?
So I'm going to do an SJ Old Ironside. So, you know, another thing that Sailor Jerry was a radio host. He hosted a show in Hawaii. After he get done tattooing, he hopped on his purple Harley Davidson, his Harley.
He lived the American dream is what you're telling me.
Bro, he was the original badass, bro. Like, you know what I mean? So he had a show called The Old Ironsides where he'd get up and rant, do poetry, play his instruments, and speak his, you know, back then it was, it was full America, you know what I mean? So, like, he would get on and do his thing. So it was called The Old Ironsides. So what I'm doing is making a drink in homage to that because when we go full circle, I don't know if you can see it, but you know the Intrepid vessel, plane carrier in New York, the large ship. That's where we did a show from a few years back, Sailor Jerry. So we made a bottle to replicate the ship, the Intrepid, and they're available in Chicago, right? But the bottle says Ironside, right? Because
love it.
The ship is Ironside. But yeah, he had a show, a radio show, and this drink is basically for him. So it's 2 parts Sailor Jerry. Then we're gonna go a little bit of pineapple juice. Right. So
with spiced rum, I mean, you
right?
can't go wrong.
There you go, brother. Pineapple, ginger, bring out the cinnamon, vanilla, nutmeg profile of our blended rum. We're not an aged rum. We are blended spiced rum, 92 proof. Our rum in the U.S. comes from Puerto Rico, and it's a blend. It's not aged, you know. So we're gonna add pineapple, and then what I'm gonna do, I'm staying in Philly tonight. I could go soda water, but since I'm not going anywhere and I'm staying home, I'm gonna go hard seltzer, and this is Philly's own Two Robbers.
Well played.
Really cool, rad. They got a really cool, you know, counterculture ethos over there. So it's a nice welcoming. Yeah, it's a nice welcome. We go. Yeah,
good night, nurse.
Yes, it's a nice welcoming wave that their hard seltzer brings to the palate of, paired with Sailor Jerry. And then we're gonna do a nice little we're going to do a nice pioneer cherry, right? All things Americana, and then a grapefruit. Bang, bro.
Oh, you are not messing around.
Nah, man. Yeah, you
That is
know.
legit. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, brother. Ah, yeah. So there's Norman posted on the back of our bottle. Yeah, if anybody did their, I always go into when I was in the real world, right? Go into a venue, like, hey, if you guys just turned around and looked at the bottle, I wouldn't have a job. So, so thank you for not turning around looking at the bottle, but I'm gonna tell you about the bottle.
Wait,
it tells the story of Sailor Jerry for sure, and that's what people want these days. They want something that tells a story.
for sure.
We're in a generation, we're in a time period right now, right? We're in a time period right now. I'm gonna pour some out for everybody who's not here. Hold on, let me do this real quick. Pour those out to those who aren't here anymore. Yeah. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I do. And I think you really touched on something there. As we're all, I'm not going to say struggling, but as we're working to maintain our identities, as we're sheltering in place and trying to just maintain some semblance of normal, the lifestyle aspect of the brand, like the community aspect of anything we do, is so important.
So important, especially doing now with COVID, right? So, I not only am I the rude boy for Sailor Jerry, but I also represent the entire William Grant & Sons portfolio from a back-end standpoint, which is, Balvenie, Glenfiddich, Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey, Milagro. We have some great Reka Vodka. But in this time when COVID, right, bars and liquor stores, it's those brands like Sailor Jerry, who if the liquid dried up, we'd still be able to live on because of the tattoo.
Yeah.
Sailor Jerry started as a clothing line here in Philadelphia, PA. Some creative souls, big up to Quaker City Mercantile, they brought back Sailor Jerry's life. They brought back his legacy. They said, oh my God, these gems here, and sat down and created the brand. And it started as a clothing line. So back in the day, it was like the Black Lips, Eagles of Death Metal coming through Philly and just grabbing a hat, a t-shirt. And you've seen it over the years.
Oh,
and that's when it was it got to Chicago for sure. Chicago and Philly, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago and Philly.
Unless we're talking sports, yeah.
Facts. Oh, because Buddy Ryan, right? Right. We could go there. I'm showing my age, but I don't care. But yeah, you guys got hella more NBA championships than us for sure.
I just we won't even get into the Stanley Cup stuff, but yes.
No, that's Broadway bullies all day. Yeah. So now more than ever, brands need to have some other ethos, some purpose, some passion, or if not, they're going to see right through you, right? They want something. They need that. And that's
Absolutely
where we're at.
right.
And that's where we're at with Sailor Jerry for sure. So we can we have fun. I respect, and this is straight jacket, I respect the straight edge culture, right? So I'll go to a lot of hardcore shows where I'm loving it. Oh yeah. Not drinking, but they love the lifestyle and legacy of Sailor Jerry.
Yeah.
And so we'll do tattooing, we'll do clothing, we'll do skate. It doesn't have to be, I don't want nobody looking at me and just saying, oh, here comes the booze salesman. Nah, here comes gravy, bro. I'm adding value, how we need to get down. You know what I mean? I can put the bottle on weight, we can still have fun, straight up.
Here comes gravy, bro. That's the name that's the title for this episode. That's it. Here comes gravy, bro.
Nice. You already put that in your editing mind. Right?
You gotta work ahead.
This is where I'm at tonight. The Sailor Jerry Flash puzzle piece, bro.
What is that?
So it's a puzzle piece of all Sailor Jerry Flash. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm gonna put that together tonight. That's a project. But these are the kind of things that we do now during this time for our followers, because they've been so loyal since day one.
Yeah.
You understand that, right? You've seen Sailor Jerry, right? We don't have money for ads and all the, man, we were in the cut. We were in the culture. We were there with y'all. So now during this time, we have the Support Your Artist campaign, right? I don't know if you've seen it on our IG at Sailor Jerry. It's about supporting tattoo artists. And we're going to parlay that into supporting all the artists that have supported us. Band, fashion, all that kind of stuff. That's what we're doing. And then today on our Instagram, we're paying it forward with, a tattoo. If you guys go there and check it out in Sailor Jerry, Instagram. But these are the kind of things we're doing for our cats now. We have a Color a Tat digital page where you say, you know what I mean? Fun, quirky, bro. Why not? We're not so serious anymore. Remember the tattoo artist or the tattooer back in the day was the one dude in the corner, right? Oh my God.
Totally.
Now
it's exactly. I mean, back when Jerry was doing his thing, it was counterculture. It was,
yeah,
subversive.
Yeah, I was every year we host the Navy men and women. Thank you for everybody who's listening, who's got family or in service or whatever. Thank you so very much. We host Fleet Weeks, right? And we get to see those soldiers come back from being. I've heard. I'm like, you've been underwater for 3 years. What?
Yeah.
Here, man. Here, and
Yeah.
around the corner, up the street, and to the left. Knock on that door. Green light. She'll come down. But like, I'm just saying, like, it's real. I guess it's real. Like, I'm like, oh my God, thank you for your service. You've been underwater for 3 years, right? So usually we're out at Fleet Week, and I get these stories, and I say what I have to say because that's the sacrifice, and that's a beautiful thing to welcome these cats back. And and I never say it's not a sponsorship. This is a thank you. This is a thank you from us. We've been here. Norman's been there since day one. So it's kind of cool how to keep parlaying that into each generation. And it's been a nice ride. Sure.
By the way, I dare you to have 2 of those Ironsides and try to work on that puzzle.
Yeah, I already hold. This is a great idea. This puzzle came from the original Ash. Ashley, she's our OG Sailor Jerry West Coast, and she just had the idea. And she was doing Sailor Jerry in your hunker in your bunker right when COVID hit. What do you got in your fridge type stuff? And she was like, "Yo, let's do a puzzle." And we did the color of the tat. Yeah, man. We got the mask coming out soon.
Nice.
With the big why not? I'll get you some out there, hopefully.
You hit on something. Right now, it's all about being authentic, being real. No one has time for you talked about the big advertising campaigns. It's all about just being legit and being yourself. And that's one of the things I like about Sailor Jerry is just that it's a lifestyle brand. It's kind of subversive in its own way. It's
a lifestyle brand, and here's a cool way I get to sum it up. Think about it. When they were like, "Hey, we want to recreate Sailor Jerry," they did it through the clothing, and then they said, "Hey, we want to take it to the next level," and they picked the spirit, right? Rum, right? Which allows me to go into conversations when I travel, no matter where it's St. Petersburg, Russia, to LA, to Dubai, to Dublin, no matter, and we just hired an amazing, new, beautiful, awesome. She's going to bring the cultural partnerships. Gemma Kane, check her out at Sugar Cane. Gemma, she's Sailor Jerry Sugar Cane. She's our new global brand ambassador. We are a global brand. We're a global brand, and we're a young rum. Listen, man, we're only around since the late 90s. So in terms of rum, that's like that's like an infant. Rum's been around for some dark times.
You're the new kid on the block.
Yeah. But we've had a nice legitimate hit a million cases, keep it moving, but we never lost our sway. Came out with last year in a few markets, the Savage Apple, right? I don't know if you got a chance to see that, right? It's a lower ABV, Americana apple, apple pie in your mouth kind of thing. It's for the long chill drink. You want to hang out all day. But getting back to
perfect for summer. I mean, not like Sailor Jerry isn't, but I mean, perfect. For
summer. No. And you can have classics. Any whiskey drinkers out there, this is the truth. I always have fights with my whiskey and Scotch guys. I'm like, this is the original brown spirit, right? That's actually my next tattoo, the original brown spirit, right? Just because we have those fights. Because if you want to go back, I'm doing a very nice historical look at rum and the drum. I did it backwards, but rum and the drum and their correlation through history. And I did it with Chuck Treese, improv style with Chuck Treese, the drummer from McGrad, one night in Brooklyn, where I just was speaking about rum because it has a dark history, right? Mm-hmm. But it also has a I don't know if I go with this one, my bad. A sustainable history. Rum comes from the byproduct of the sugarcane process, right? Molasses, right? Mm-hmm. Molasses, not cachaça, but rum, and our spiced rum. Rum. So you're saying, all this molasses was being, during the sugar rise, during the sugar tides. We're talking Barbados, the islands, right? Mm-hmm. And again, during the sugar and spice trade, during the slave trade. Let's go there, right? Mackerel in New England for bodies, going through the triangle. I just got back from Barbados. Peace to Richard Seal and Christian Seal for giving me a beautiful education on rum, right? So I'm doing a historical look at rum and the drum, African drumming, the kumina. It's a ceremony of drumming. When they used to make drums, they would put rum on top of the drum after it was made, but before it was played to serenade it in African, colonies. So the rum and the drum, and then you got, we could go through the Congo Square. I went all the way up. We can go to DC with the go-go. You know what I mean? You can go to Prohibition where the piano was taking over the drum because it was in speakeasies during Prohibition. So you had to be quiet. So
Absolutely.
the piano, right. So, and then you can get to, you can go back to Lincoln and the fife and drum bands when all those guys were drinking rum punches, right? Because the first way of drinking rum to the suits, I call them back in the day, the suits, the Lincolns, the Franklins, all those guys, they were making rum punches, right? It was the colonial way to present yourself with a rum punch. So that's how we first started drinking rum punches. But there's a cool chronological fun thing to look at when it comes to the drum and rum. And I have another channel that's going to be coming out. It's called Goats with Gravy. That I'll be speaking about that. So I got to get you on that because you are a goat, and appreciate you for doing it for the culture, man. For sure.
Hell yes. Yeah, we talked about the pineapple in the rum. You mentioned ginger.
Pineapple works with the rum. The tasting notes the tasting notes of our 92 proof blended rum is, the traditional Caribbean spices, right? Cinnamon, nutmeg, toffee, vanilla, right? But
totally. I missaid that.
No, bro. Ain't nobody here correcting you. Stop it. Ginger and pineapple go extremely well with spiced rum, especially blended spiced rum. It brings out the flavor notes.
Well, this brings up my question. Could you do ginger ale? No one ever uses ginger ale. Is it?
Don't be scared. So this is why I use Two Robbers. And if I did not say it, Two Robbers is a hard seltzer, but it's pineapple and ginger.
Aha. There it is.
Right.
I bet that's amazing.
Right. So pineapple, ginger. Rewind. 2 parts Sailor Jerry. Let's do 4 parts pineapple juice topped with pineapple ginger hard seltzer from Two Robbers.
There it is.
Right. So yes. And then, if you want a little decor, you could put the pineapple leaf in there, right? But
I do want decor.
Yes, ginger, right? Because you're visual, right? Ginger, ginger ale, cool. But why not go there? All right, let's take baby steps. Why not go there with ginger beer? Some amazing ones, right? And then if you're really funky, let's go ginger syrup that you make at home.
Yes. Now we're in business. Now it's a Friday night.
Now it's a Friday night. And that's the traditional, cocktail, rum and ginger. So yeah, and that's a great cocktail, but it brings out the tasting notes of our drink. And what I'll do now to kind of show you, the lighter side. You mentioned rum and summer, right? But our blended spice rum, we want you to be able to have it in a Manhattan in an old fashioned during the wintertime, right? You can, because it's a brown spirit that's blended. We're from the makers of Balvenie and Glenfiddich, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And Hendrick's Gin. I get to go over there and I'm seeing these guys and I feel like the rum rude boy because I'm like, oh my God, you guys are scientists, mad botanist scientists, amazing, awesome. So we're coming from legacy, 1800 legacies of whiskey Scotch craftsmanship, right? So they're the ones blending our spirit, right? So it's a balanced, mixable, rum. It's not, you're not going to leave there like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Oh, no. And the price point is popping, I must say, especially during this time.
Especially during this time. Here's the thing. One of the reasons I wanted you on, I mean, you have such an infectious way of communicating. I want you to tell a story. This is independent of Sailor Jerry.
Awesome.
I want you to tell the story about how you
basically let me live.
You basically talked your way onto playing the main stage of Warped Tour.
Oh, word. You read the Discovered magazine article.
Yes.
Sweet. Big up to Georgia Rawson, discovered over in the UK, met her at Leeds Festival.
This is
for Outbreak Festival.
This story to me defines you.
So you know this era. Yeah, man. So I used to work at the amphitheaters at all the concert venues. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna show you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna go back like barbershop chair. Check it out. So Sailor Door concerts, right? Pace Facilities concerts, SFX concerts, Live Nation, right? SFX, right? Remember that? SFX, Live Nation. I got in to fit in there. Let's get to the first story. I'm from the East Coast, but went to school down south where they just wanted to be farmers or politicians, right? And in turn, the PR professor was like, yo, Anybody want to get into music at the amphitheater right down the street? There's an amphitheater, Charlotte, North Carolina. Yo, you want to go to the amphitheater and get an internship? Grab that internship quick, because I come from street team promo. You know what I mean? Come from it. Grabbed it within the first 2 months. Now I'm hired. Sweet. Now I'm hired. Sweet. Now I'm giving concert tickets to my professors, so I don't have to go to class. Right. So you want to go see John Tesh? You want to go? You want to go see Styx? Steely Dan, love them. They're hip hop all day. Right. You want to go see them? Cool. I got you. So I'd be like in my mailbox exchanging like the classroom keys for like tickets. Amazing, right? Grab that, parlayed that into now I'm, and this is like Lollapalooza era, Smoke and Grooves era, Further Festival era, right?
This is peak 90s.
Ozfest beginnings, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, woo, woo. Saw a lot. I saw catering go vegetarian. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know, like God, I got some stories on that. But anyway, so I had the know-how of all this. So I come back home to Philly. My pop got sick. I had to come back home to Philly, and needed a gig that was versatile to taking care of him. And got the amphitheater gig, and did that for a couple years. Bounced and went off and did my own thing. So I had the know-how of the amphitheater, right?
Yeah.
As a concert venue. You know where the box office is, you know where the production office is, you know wherever it is. So we're going to Warped Tour. And listen, the band Fillmore Brown, my band, we were signed up to play the side stage right before Stiffed, right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right before Stiffed. And we were, so I'm like, I'm gonna go hook up and kick it with some of the staff that I used to work with. So I'm walking backstage. I get backstage. I'm walking backstage, kicking it. And Santi Gold. Why did I forget Santi Gold? Stiffed. You know, I had to give it. I said Stiffed, and I had to say Santi Gold. But yeah, we were supposed to be playing the side stage. You remember the amphitheaters had the side stages, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. In front of the beer line, you're like, sweet, that dude's playing the cover of every song. I get to wait for him. But no, we were signed up to play the side stage. So I go back, and I'm checking in with old friends. Nice. They're like, oh, you didn't even know you played in the band. Yeah. So we're out here playing side stage. And we literally took the ferry over from Philly to Camden. So mind you, we're skateboards, BMX bikes, right? So we're like DIY, like,
100%. Yeah.
100%. Our instruments, like and again, it was guitar, bass, 2 vocals, rant, poetry, Zigaboo gospel, Negro punk poetry is what we called it. We'd start the show with Welcome to Negro NASCAR. You better buckle up, because the original punk rocker was the Runaway Slave.
Nice.
Come on, bing, right? So fast forward. So we're getting ready to play, and mind you, the guys are having fun. Oh, it was so terrible. One dude bassist was breaking up with his girl because she heard his phone on the night before that had the volume on while he was having relations with another girl. Right? It was just drama. The other poet, the other MC was twisted because he was out in the sun watching everybody. My Chemical Romance. We're 4 black dudes who they thought were like the hip hop group. No, bro, we're straight. We're coming. That's a whole nother thing, right? So I'm backstage kicking it, and I walk into the production office, and I see the tour manager, peace out to the Warped Tour crew, just struggling. One of the bands isn't going to make it from, say, Maryland or or DC or Delaware to the Philly slot time that they have right now. And I was just like, I'm like, yo, round table, at press, everybody, the backstage thing. I'm like, yo, there's a killer band that's about to play side stage. My band, we can rock. We can get up there right now and rock. And he was like, yo, I had nothing, no merch, no. And we're not on MySpace at this time. We're just like, and he was like, all right, cool. Back your van up. You got it. 20 minutes. Back your truck, back your RV up. 20 minutes. Tour bus up. 20 minutes. I'm like, we got skateboards, bro. I got a banana boat. He's like, here's your passes. Here's your food, the whole nine. And you're going to go on. Maybe I think it was my peace out to Jay Casualty. Maybe it was the Casualties. And then after us, it was Atmosphere, Slug. Right. So we get to go, and you know how it is, half stage, the 30 minute. So I go back. So imagine me going back to my boys. They're like, frolicking, like when I mean frolicking, and I'm like, yo, yeah, fellas. Luckily, we had our sound guy there. Who was doing the TLA or the amphitheaters. Excuse me, not the Fillmore before, Electric Factory. He's done the big rooms before. So luckily he was there, but they're like twisted, like and like my man's arguing with his girl. She's got video of him. Like it was, and I'm like, yo, guys, we're about to go on in like 30 minutes on the main stage. They're like, yeah, we know. I'm like, no, on the main stage. I never see brothers just get up like, beep. She like SW1s. They were like, it was like both trying to. It's just like it just. Let's go. Let's take advantage of this opportunity. Are you kidding me?
That's one of those situations where it's so good that they didn't have time to think about it.
No, and it was, it was really cool, appreciative. I don't even know that dude from today. You know what I mean? And he didn't. This is what I hope doesn't get missed in all of this social media thing, is that energy that dude knew I wasn't BSing. I knew he knew I would bring it in the 10 seconds where he looked me up and down. I looked him up and down. He knew I knew his language and what he was going through. No one wants a blank stage, right? I'm like, yo, no one wants a blank stage, right? Because you're paying the sound dudes. You know what I mean? I'm thinking all this, right? I'm thinking flow. So I came out of here and I'm like, what could happen if you don't? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like he's like, go. Back your.
That is such a great showbiz story.
Yeah. So what was really cool was that we rock out and Slug. My man, now he thinks that Fela or someone like a Femi or Sean or like some Afrobeat band is playing. He's backstage, so him and his crew, the whole Minnesota crew, they are surrounding us while we're performing, and we're performing to those late 90s, early 2000s, My Chemical Romance kids. You know what I'm saying? They're like, who are these black dudes hanging himself on stage in a skirt with a mohawk? You know what I mean? Like it was on war paint on, my keyboardists wore war paint. They're looking at us like, oh, we never saw P-Funk, but this is it in punk form. You know what I mean? Like, and we're giving them, because the reason why I would play the songs we did, our drummer was Haitian as well. He could never end a song. Oh my God. If we tried to do a 1 minute punk song, like LA style, he was Haitian. He'd always put a fill in there. We'd be like, yo, stop. But so Slug thinks that he's hearing an Afrobeat band outside. And comes out after we get done. He's like, yo, you're on tour with me. Go pack your stuff. So we did the East Coast run with Slug right after that. Like, just bang. He's like, next level. And he dropped us in a song a couple years later. He taught me a lot on the road. He taught me he taught me like not how to eat after 9 o'clock for your throat. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that makes sense. Oh man, that's an amazing story.
Yeah, man.
What a learning and growth experience. I mean,
oh, for sure. Especially I had seen things, and not saying that my boys hadn't seen things, but I purposely grabbed dudes who were in their pockets, right? So that angst could be felt naturally. And now they're off. Now they're like, pew, you know what I mean? But like, I grabbed them. I grabbed my bass player, is probably at the time was one of the sickest MCs in Philly. Right. And, Philly's got sick MCs. I was like, yo, you're not going to MC anymore. You're going to play bass. He's like, I never played bass. I'm like, well, you're going to do it. Right. The drummer was coming from industrial background. I was like, you're going to play behind two poets that are going to rant. And you might hear us, you might not. You might understand what we're saying, you might not. And then the keyboardist was coming from like an Afro Brazilian vibe that we made play a guitar as well. Or you know what I mean? So it was full on. Afro punk did a lot for us. And again, but it was during that time we were trying to tell people at that time point to feel more brown. And I'll end it talking about the band because there's so many newer bands that are crushing it. And I know a lot of them had seen our shows back in the day and moving forward, but like the people of color frontman, and it's a thing. You got it. You got, whether it's Black Girls Rock or whether you got Afro Punk or whether you got all the things that are happening in the UK. Big up to Bob Villain. You got to check this band, two-piece from London. Their mixing is so dope. And it goes into what the society is now. There's no like, oh, he's with the punk crew. He's with the hip hop crew. He's with the dance hall crew. In one song, these cats will have, and it'll be a 1 minute punk song, but in that 1 minute, they'll have bang, 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 bang. And it's seamless. And then they got that grime, thing going as well. So you're like, and those guys are crushing it with a political statement. Like in the UK, and I work globally. So it's a real thing. Black Lives Matter in the US and Black Lives Matter around the world. Peace to my Nigerians in Scotland. Peace to my Nigerians in Dublin, who I held one of the biggest new school events of music. Big up to Girl Code, Mona Lisa, where it was like new trap and new world music and new Afro beat. in Dublin and I'm looking around at a sea of Nigerians, I call my homies back home. I'm like, I'm in Dublin. And I show them the pictures. They're like, no, you're not. You're in Brooklyn. I'm like, no. I'm like, no. I'm like, no, bro. I'm in Dublin. They're like, right? Yeah.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Don't judge a book by the census, man. Straight up.
For real. All right, getting back to Sailor Jerry.
Right.
Sailor
Yeah.
Jerry, I love that story. For
Thank
those
you
who
for
just
asking
joined
that.
us, oh, of course. For those who are just joining us, this is Gravy Thomas. He is the Sailor Jerry Rum Rude Boy. He is really a brand ambassador, but that's not really a Sailor Jerry type of thing.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the USO bottle before I cut you loose?
Thank you for asking. So the USO bottle, Sailor Jerry, because we're causal, because we go, because we're like that. Our booze comes through Puerto Rico. Our Caribbean spice rum comes through Puerto Rico, gets bottled in Edison, New Jersey, and we sustain a lot of jobs right there in Edison, New Jersey for that. And then we also support the USO. If you guys don't know, the USO, do so many services for the vets or those active. I'm on a lot of planes. I was on a lot of planes, and I would sit and have conversations about what the USO does for them while they're in service, while they're not in service, for their families, so on and so forth. So every year we commemorate them, with a bottle, and they're available in your stores in Chicago, no doubt. But then also, when we can, we throw it down for them. We're up to maybe $1 million in donation to their services. Right, maybe
awesome.
150K this year. So that's the Sailor Jerry limited edition bottle. Here's our baby. This is the 92 proof one you should be looking for in the store. And to close out, I'm gonna make a last Sailor Jerry cocktail, and this is called the Sailor Jerry Old School, and it's on our Instagram page on IG. If you check out Sailor Jerry, it's basically 2 parts Sailor Jerry. We're gonna do a little bit of nutmeg, bringing out the nutmeg even more. A nutmeg liqueur. Big up to
that's what I was going to ask. Okay.
Third Eye Liqueur. Out of Brooklyn, out of New York. Big up to Jim Ryan. Third Eye. It's a nutmeg liqueur. And
now,
then
could you just, if you're short of that, if you're stuck at home, could you just shave some nutmeg in there?
For sure. And then you can make your own syrups, right? Remember we talked about that as well, right? And then you can grab a little bit of bitters. Mm-hmm. And if you want to shave and then put some soda water, bubbles bring out everything, right? Bubbles bring out everything. So what I'm going to do is bring out a little bit of soda water on this one.
Are you actually using soda water, or are we back to the hard seltzer?
No, the hard seltzer is big up to two Roberts. Hard seltzer's in that one. Right. I am going to basically do some club soda in this bad boy, just to bring out the anise. On our website, it just calls for anise. It calls for anise. I didn't have any anise, which is like a licorice. Mm-hmm. I had nutmeg, so I had the nutmeg liqueur, and then Sailor Jerry, and then a little bit of bitters. That's what it calls for. See, that's the old school kind of, that's just like straight, but I had to bring out I need a little soda water in my life. You know what I mean? To bring out the taste profile.
Well, I bet that's totally refreshing. Cheers.
Woo! Woo! Booyaka. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh, that's a new. That's new. That's the new wave, man. Yo, get at me at Gravy on the Rocks, please, world. Chicago, Chi-Town. What's up? I got love for Chi-Town.
We know it. All right. Sailor Jerry Spiced Rum. You are Gravy Thomas. I'm going to stop the Facebook Live. Thank you, everyone, for watching there. That is much appreciated.